Hello and welcome to Bichao, and as you can see today I have the brand new facelifted Skoda Kodiaq with me. Now the one which I have currently with me, this is the Monte Carlo edition. I'll get into more details about that later. What today we are going to do is we're going to first show you this car, we're going to take a walk around, show you the new features and the new upgrades that have come to the new Kodiaq. Then we'll take it out for a spin, see how this engine drives with this particular combination. Monte Carlo over here is the 1.5 TSI with the DQ200 DSG, and this combination is kind of already there in the market. But what I'm excited is after this I'm going to actually drive the other car, which is the 1 liter with the new 8-speed torque converter, and tell you all about how both these cars perform on the road. Now, the new Kodiaq has actually got a massive facelift on the outside. These headlights are new, which are now full LED headlights. The fog lamps are new, which are also LEDs. Then you have a completely new grille, which has these broken LED pieces in it, kind of like daytime running lights. But what I consider them is, कभी अगर तुम डेंटिस्ट के पास गए हो अपने दांत सीधा करने के लिए, they put those braces on your teeth. So if you look from afar, it kind of, doesn't it look like teeth ke beech wala braces? Anyways, you let me know down in the comment section. Then again, you have a completely new grille in the front. You also have a completely new bumper. So basically the entire front end as well as the rear end of this car is completely been redone. Now when you're over here on the inside, you will find a lot of new changes that have happened to this car. First of which are these seats. These seats are now both ventilated for the driver as well as the passenger. And if you're choosing a higher spec variant just like this one, then both these seats are also going to be powered as well with included height adjustment. Apart from that, you get a wireless charger. You also get this massive panoramic sunroof, the biggest that has ever come to a Kodiaq till date. The sunroof is also available in two different specifications. There is a slightly smaller sunroof which is available for the base and the mid-range variants, while the higher spec variants get this sunroof which goes all the way till the back. Apart from that, on the inside, the materials are still mostly all plastic. But one good thing that I find over here compared to the other cars in this segment is that the piano black finish is greatly reduced. There are only a few touches of piano black over here, for example around the air vents, and a little bit of trim piece over here on the dashboard. But apart from that, mostly everything is matte, which means that the long lastingness and the way this car is going to look on the interior over a long period of time is going to be better. Now also another upgrade that you will notice in this car is this, of course, being the top end variant, you have a massive screen. In this car you have basically 3 different options for the instrument cluster, starting from a basic 18-inch screen, then it goes to a mid-range variant where you have a slightly bigger screen, and this, which is the top end variant, which has a full digital display. The center infotainment screen also comes in 2 sizes, where this is the larger one, which is the 25-inch screen. Apart from that, there is also a 16-inch screen in this as well. Thankfully, there are a set of ventilated buttons over here that can help you start things like your ventilated seats, automatic start stop, and locking and unlocking the car. There are a few buttons which are physical and tactile, but the annoyance of touch buttons still exists and still persists in the form of this air conditioning unit, which is a complete touch unit. It's super difficult to understand how to use when you're driving, and one wrong press and you're having the wind basically blowing on your face at the same velocity as a tornado. Now the major changes or the major upgrades that Skoda is touting are over here at the back seats. The first thing that they're telling us, which is kind of important, which is a segment first, that now these seats over here at the back have a massage feature in it. I don't feel that that is a feature that is super important or super necessary under Indian heat and Indian climatic conditions. I would have personally preferred if the rear seats were ventilated just like how they are in the front. That would actually be a lot more beneficial for the people sitting here on the back. That said though, you tell me what you would prefer. Would you prefer the rear seats to have massagers the way they have currently, or would you prefer the rear seats to have ventilation? The seats are flat. The seats don't have a lot of bucketing in it. You're kind of sitting flat. You have got decent amount of thigh support, and in terms of your leg room, you actually have quite a good amount of leg room as well as headroom. That isn't a problem. On the higher spec variants, you also get a collapsible armrest which has cup holders in it. Now the one weird situation over here is that if you buy the absolute entry level, which is the classic plus variant of the Kodiaq, these seats will not come in a 60-40 split. They will rather be a full single bench which you can fold down 100%. What that also means is that this central armrest, which is folding out, and these cup holders will also be missing. Apart from that, you also have a rear air conditioning vent. No other settings for the fan or the temperature, anything else, just plain 2 vents over here at the back, 2 HiPod USB ports. In the lower end variants, you don't get these ports as well. It's pretty basic over here at the back with a few features which are kind of essential. What I'm gonna do is now take you to the boot and see how much stuff can we fit in there. Now, if you come from a generation where you've seen the old Lauras and the old Octavias, you'll know that Skoda always gives a lot of preference to boot space. And in this car, relative to its size, also has a pretty decent amount of boot space. We've actually got it completely full over here, and I'm going to take out all these things to show you how much stuff can actually fit in this boot. Now, let's go. So there is one big bag, one camera bag, another hard case, another backpack, then we have one more backpack, then we have a couple of more hard cases, one over here, second one over here, and then we have a soft travel case. All of these things were basically inside the boot of this car. That is actually quite a decent amount of luggage. If it was a set of 4 people, an entire weekend journey, I don't see a problem with this car. You can actually fit everything in over here and pretty comfortably. So there you go. Now with all that in, I'm going to take this out for a drive this car, come back, then take the new 8-speed transmission 1-liter TSI, take that out for a spin, and then let's come up with a verdict and see which car is actually nice and how they both drive. Alright, so we are first driving the 1.5 DSG Monte Carlo. In terms of its features and functionality, it is pretty much the same as the other car. The Monte Carlo suggests that there is a different trim level, which means you have different materials for the seats, different materials for the dashboard, and a little bit of extra trim pieces here and there. In terms of how this car drives, I find this car, the steering to be a little light, which is good for the city, but out over here on the highway, I would have liked it to stiffen up a little more, get a little more heft in it while going at speeds, let's say above 100, which this road that I am on is perfectly capable of doing. Suspensions do feel a lot settled down. They do give you a very flat ride quality, but as speeds get high on our roads, now I am currently on a cement road, which means that it inherently has a lot of bumpy nature to it, and because of that, the car just keeps jumping up and down. At speeds of 80, 85, even up to 90, that feeling has been completely absorbed by the suspension system on this car. But after 90, when you cross 100, you start feeling each and every of that bump. It just translates everything through. That does not mean that it kind of lets go of its stability. It's still there, but you just feel a lot more jumpy when you're sitting in the car. In terms of NVH also, it's pretty good over here. I won't say the best, but it's pretty decent, where I still hear a lot of that tire roll. Most probably is due to us currently being on a cement road. If it was tarmac or asphalt, it wouldn't have been this bad. It would have been a lot more smoother. But the good part again over here is this combination of that 1.5-liter turbocharged engine with that 7-speed DSG, the DQ200, which is a kind of proven formula by now, where this DSG is also in its second or I guess third generation, and they have hammered out most of the issues. And now this is a lot more pliant with Indian road conditions, where earlier, if you remember, the DQ200, it used to unnecessarily and abruptly downshift, especially between second, third and first gear. That is something I feel has been improved quite a lot. That jerkiness specifically between first and second, second and third, that feeling is kind of reduced quite a lot. And again, the best part about this transmission is how well it reacts to your throttle input. So you put your foot down, and now it immediately has shifted 2 gears down, and I've got the acceleration to go through. Currently, after the way I'm driving the car, I'm obviously testing the car, so I'm accelerating hard, I'm braking hard, and with all those things, I'm still getting about 10 km per liter, which is not kind of bad, which is kind of decent for the way we are currently driving this car. The build quality feels good. There are no rattles, there are no unnecessary noises coming from the inside of the car. It's very well put together. I just can't get over the fact how light the steering is. Maybe that's really nice for driving in the city, which it is, but out here on the highway, I would have definitely preferred it to be a little more hefty, a little more weighted, so it gives you a lot more sort of confidence when you're going high speed into corners. Also, out here on the highway or any sort of road where you're doing high speed corners or high speed turns, I do feel that there is still quite a bit of body roll. Of course, this is not a very low car. It's a car which has a high center of gravity, and you can feel it even if you give slight inputs around a corner, the car will sort of give you a lot of body roll. It will give you a lot of lateral movement from the chassis of the car. It's not a deal breaker. In fact, it kind of adds to the comfort of the car when you're driving normally. But when you're on the highway and you're doing speeds like 100 plus, it definitely kind of dilutes that feeling of confidence overall. No power, and there it is. I don't even know what we are drag racing against, but I think this is we've already crossed. I'm pretty sure this is a 1 liter and not the 1.5, because even on half throttle I was next to him. Chalo, let's take this corner as fast as possible. We're doing 90 almost into the corner. Oh my god, firstly the road's not nice. The expansion joints are kind of disbalancing the car a lot, and on top of that, as I said, because of the lightweight steering wheel and that body roll from the suspensions, it does feel a little dicey while going into the corner. Like, I've completely pushed it to the corner. The car is kind of floaty at this point. I was doing about 90 through that corner, which is also kind of impressive, but at the same time not very stable. It didn't feel like it is giving me the best kind of confidence to go around that particular corner at those speeds. This particular suspension setup is somewhere in the middle. It's not a very sporty or a very stiff sort of suspension setup. At the same time, it's not a very soft setup also. Chalo, this is a nice patch actually to test out how the suspensions are on bad roads. Pretty decent. Yeah, so this is where that soft suspensions actually come in handy. So what I feel Skoda has kind of set up this car is more, again, because it's an India car, it's set up more to be driven on Indian roads, on Indian road conditions. And on this kind of road right now which I am on, the suspensions actually are really pliant. I can actually go pretty flat out on this road and not feel the jumps or the bumps, and not feel the car, you know, just trying to throw me off at every particular instant. I'm actually doing quite good speeds on this road. Yeah, this is where the suspension shines. Yep, that bad road was really bad, wasn't it? I think Indian car manufacturers have still, you know, got a little bit of an upper hand when tuning their suspensions specific to bad roads or in general Indian road conditions. Skoda is still somewhere in the middle over there. Probably they don't want to compromise too much on the ride and handling, while at the same time they do understand that the road conditions in India are vastly varying from nice paved smooth highways to bad back roads. Now it's time for us to head to our next destination, drop this car up and pick up the 1 liter with the new 8-speed torque converter. That should be actually quite interesting. We are in the more interesting change that has happened with the Kushaq, which is the 1 liter engine which is mated with the new 8-speed torque converter. And the first thing you notice the minute you start the car and you sit in it, even while it's idling, is that this engine has a lot more vibration compared to the 1.5. That said though, when you put your foot on the throttle, this car actually feels a lot more interesting, lot more fun to drive. There is some reason, I've been saying this for years to a lot of people, I prefer the small 1 liter, 1.2 liter turbocharged engine a lot more compared to a 1.5 or a 1.6 liter engine, because these sound a little bit more raunchy, they sound a little bit more exciting, and of course they don't have the same kind of power as a 1.5 TSI, but they sound a lot more sporty rather. The 1.5 sounds like any other regular 4-cylinder. I also really like how this display shows you your map directions. I mean, it's not something specific to this particular car, it's also there on Tata vehicles as well, but this is something I find really handy. And it kind of makes more sense instead of having like an expensive HUD in front of you. This kind of a solution to this particular problem, I think, is a lot more intuitive. It's a lot more integrated as well. And I think it does the job really well. I can actually see nice big bold letters and big fonts where I have to go after how much of a distance I have to actually turn. So this totally works, looks really good and is super helpful. Yeah, this does feel a little raspy. I like the way these sound. This kind of feels nice, it kind of feels fun and engaging to drive. Of course, the torque is missing, the same torque from the 1.5. That is something which is completely missing, and you really do feel that torque because this engine doesn't push the car in with the same furiosity as the 1.5 does. There is definitely a lot of lag in the upshift as well compared to the DSG, of course. Yeah, so there is definitely like half a second between a upshift in this transmission compared to the DSG, which is lightning quick. That said though, this feels a lot more lighter. This car feels a lot more lively. It feels a lot more dynamic compared to the other car. That felt a little, the suspensions in that car felt a little overburdened compared to this. This one is just taking all the potholes, all the bumps without any issues. No bottoming out till now, and I've been doing kind of the same speeds, kind of the same road surfaces, and this difference is hugely noticeable. It's a lot more pliant. This suspension setup is actually the right kind of suspension setup for this engine, this kind of weight which is on top of this car. I think here's what it is. Now there's one more thing which I would love to tell you about, that is how this 8-speed transmission feels on the highway, but unfortunately we are out of time. We cannot go on the highway right now, so that is something which I will not be able to tell you, because right now in the city there is no chance in hell that I can reach 8th gear. I'm hardly at 4th and the car is basically got zero torque. I'm sitting at 1000 RPM on, and yeah, it's downshifted to 3rd again. So there is no chance in hell that I'm gonna reach till 8th gear, but I've driven the same engine and the same turbo with a manual transmission. And what I can tell you that is the 6th gear did feel that it needed an extra gear or so. So the 8th gear on this car would be a proper overdrive gear, and what I'm expecting is you are going to get some really good fuel economy, because when you're on 8th gear and when you're just cruising on the highway, this engine is going to be probably sitting at about 1800 RPM and it's going to be just sipping fuel instead of drinking it. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully Skoda will give me this car for a long-term test. I'm gonna get this car back at the studio back home. I'm gonna drive around and going more into details of what kind of fuel economy you get both in the city as well as on the highways, and how that transmission affects the overall lightness of the engine. Like, does it feel that it's, I'm pretty sure it's not going to feel like the engine is revving out too much, or the engine is the whole time it's busy, which is something which is really needed, which is a great upgrade from the previous car as well. Because in the previous car, when you were on the highway, you're always feeling like the engine is just constantly in its power range. When you don't even need it in its power band, you just need it to cruise, it was still like, it was still a little stressed. With this new 8-speed transmission, I am hoping that it's going to be a lot less stressed with the same sort of load conditions. Anyways, in the end of it, what I think is, if you're an enthusiast, if you're someone who loves driving and likes a more dynamic car but still want a big car like this, like a mid-size SUV like this, then I think that this 1-liter TSI engine is actually a lot more fun. And in fact, it is proven, if the ECU is the same in this car, then this 1-liter TSI engine actually is a lot more tuning potential, where you can go stage 1, stage 2 and even stage 3 readily available turbos, readily available plumbing and the rest of the stuff for this car. So this, in terms of driving pleasure, in terms of tunability, in terms of having that enthusiast angle, I think this is a much better car. What makes it even better is that if you want something more comfortable, you can get this, which is the 8-speed auto. If you want something more engaging, then you can even go with the manual. So you have a lot more options, a lot more customization, a lot more variance in this particular 1-liter engine, which I feel is, in terms of its suspension, in terms of how it handles the power, I think this is a more sound setup. But if you're somebody who just wants to travel around town, does a lot of highway drives very normally, doesn't want to do any sort of tuning, doesn't want to do modifications a lot, and just wants to have the topmost line of the product, then the 1.5 TSI would make more sense to you. However, do be warned that if you're looking to upgrade that car or tune or modify that car in the future, there is going to be challenges, because the problem with the 1.5 is that ECU on that car is still locked. What that means is you need to take the ECU out, do manual soldering on a bench, get another ECU, and then fit that ECU into the car, which means it's going to be a lot more expensive. And in terms of your value of money to performance ratio, I think that's still a lot better with this 1-liter TSI. What do you guys think? I mean, this is my opinion, but I want to know what your opinions are. Let me know down in the comment section, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to catch you in the next one. Till then, ciao.